Hi Vaishnavi, thank you so much for joining me here. And how are you doing there?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well as well. So this video is more of an intro to UI and UX design to all of the audience that watches my videos. Tell me, how can someone get started in this field of design, and like when should they start? Most of my audience are people in college, first year, second year in most cases. So how can they start with the field of design, and also share your journey of how you started?
All right. So, what I feel is that there are many ways for one to start as a student, especially because as students, we are still in the learning stages of our life. So, we can get started at any point. Doesn't matter if you're in first year, final year, or just graduated like myself. You can you can get started at any point in your in entire duration of your college life. So the one thing that actually matters here is that how you get started, and that is, either you can get started by understanding what you want to do for yourself and why are you considering UI UX as a career option, or first of all you need to understand whether you're trying to explore this as a field and like get a lay of the land and try to understand whether this is for you or not, whether you have that knack, that kind of visual design sense, that love for colors and typography and different kinds of things. So if you have that kind of knack for design, then you should definitely consider a career in UI UX. But otherwise, if you're just like, if you're someone who always thinks that, okay, I'm not good at drawing, or I don't know anything about colors or anything about these different kinds of things, I'm not that creative, then also there is a space for you, there's a place for you in this ecosystem. There's something called UX design, where you have to understand the needs of the users, and you have to do a lot of research. And just if you are interested in psychology and interested in learning more about people, interacting with them, sharing or communicating and advocating about their needs, whenever you're creating a digital product, then you should definitely consider yourself, consider exploring a career in UI UX design. So that's one thing. And before, I think, a lot of people, this is like a very common thing, honestly, but a lot of people, try to they don't understand the differences between the different kinds of fields within UI UX design. But I hopefully, in this video we'll be able to cover those things as well. So yeah.
Definitely, we'll talk about that. So, just a very basic question. This might sound stupid as well, but like, what's the difference between UI and UX design for absolute beginner who's just watching this video, thinking, if they should get into this or not?
Definitely. So I think before we get into UI UX, we can first get into something called graphic design. A lot of people, they think that graphic design is similar or the same as UI or UX design. So what I feel is that the graphic design paradigm is essentially like whenever you have to design something that is like an illustration or a logo or a icon or posters and anything that requires like where you can freely experiment with pixels and colors and different kinds of illustrations. That is something that is graphic design, which is more often pixel focused. So that is one thing. Another thing is UI and UX design. So UI design essentially means that whenever you like looking at a digital product, let's say like an Apple Watch, some people have that, or an MI band for those of us who are broke, or people who are who own mobile applications or like mobile apps, and who have laptops or TV OS or stuff like that. Designing an interface for those kind of users, that is usually something that is UI design. It deals with the visual aspect of things, the things that you see on a screen, buttons and navigation bars and things like that. Whereas UX design, UX is a very, very broad field within which UI design is also another, like just a part of it. And there are other fields as well, like interaction design, visual design, human computer interaction. These different kinds of things are also there. And UX design essentially deals with how a person feels while using a digital product, especially in the context of UI UX design. I mean, UX could be for physical products and services as well. User experience is something that can be accounted for in any service. But here in this context, we're talking about products and especially digital products. So in digital products, UX is essentially how a user or a person who is using your product feels while they're using an app. While I'm using Swiggy, I want to feel happy because I'm able to order food and get them at a heavily discounted rate as well. So that is improving the user experience, and it doesn't always have to deal with the visual aspect of things. So if you're not a creative person, you can focus on those aspects as well. So yeah, these are just like that's just a basic distinction between different kinds of fields that exist within the design ecosystem.
Wonderful. How did you choose design particularly? Like, what was your journey like? If you can share in some time.
Definitely. So when I was in my first year, I wanted to build an app for a startup. I used to be a Android developer, which was like I wasn't very good at it, but I wanted to visualize how this potential app that I was going to create would look like. So I started looking for solution how to exactly create this thing. My first solution was to create some boxes on a piece of paper and try to understand like which button will go and how things would look like. But then I discovered a tool called Adobe XD, which is essentially a design tool today, is also used today. Like it's very prolific as well. There are other tools as well which we can talk about in just a moment, but Adobe XD was that one tool that I started doing my started my design journey with, and I took about 7 hours to get a hang of it, how to place all the buttons, how to use all the different features that the tool have to provide. So that's how I got started, and then eventually, I mean, I thought that this is just like drawing a bunch of rectangles on a screen, so that's not something that's a big deal. So I was not feeling very good about myself. So in order to feel good about myself, I started doing Android development and Flutter development, and went very deep into software engineering. But then eventually it found me back, like my passion for UI UX, because I just felt that I really am an advocate for users, and I understand their problems. I want to solve problems for people through these digital products, and the best way to do that is to help the developers iterate and come up with a better product for better product, and like obviously not taking the burden off of them. They can only focus on their algorithmic problems. We can focus on advocating for the users and for the people. So that's how I chose this field for myself, and I'm going to be doing a master's in human computer interaction, which is also part of UX. So I'm really excited about like the journey that is ahead, but that has been my journey till now.
Amazing. I wish you all the very best for your masters. Yeah. My next question would be, what are the tools and things that one needs to do if they want to get into this field and get their hands dirty?
Definitely. So there are different kinds of tools currently available within the ecosystem. So there are three main tools as of now for UI designing. One is Figma, which is, I'm pretty biased for Figma, even though that wasn't my first tool ever, but I'll go deeper into it. But then there are like other tools as well, like Adobe XD, like I mentioned before, and Sketch, which is exclusively for Mac OS users. So if you own a Mac, you can use Sketch. If not, then you can't. So these are the three main tools.
Do you own a Mac, by the way?
Yeah, I do own a Mac, but I don't use Sketch because Figma is everywhere. You can use Figma.
Figma is the best way to go.
Exactly.
Yeah, definitely.
Exactly. So Figma, Adobe XD, Sketch. Now a lot of people ask this question that which tool should I learn out of these? What I feel is that all of these tools are pretty similar. So you can learn any one of them, and then just take 5 more minutes to get used to the other tool, because the skills that you learn from one tool are very much transferable from one tool to another. So if you start using Figma, you're very proficient with using Figma, you can easily transfer your skills to Adobe XD as well, because those are pretty similar tools. Adobe has a very nice ecosystem around their product as well, but I would say that Figma has an amazing community of designers around them. Like there are a lot of resources in the Figma community as well. There are a lot of plugins that you can use, a lot of different kinds of files that you can take inspiration from, a lot of people who teach how to use Figma. So they're just like, I think, by going by the ecosystems as well, I feel that there's a lot more resources available for people who use Figma, and that is actually kind of a standard in the industry as well. So, and also I'm a Figma community advocate, so I might be biased, but it's also my personal preference.
Right.
One last thing that I would like to say about Figma is that even if you're a graphic designer, you can create illustrations using Figma. So it won't be like, if you're a graphic designer also, you can use this tool, and it's also available on the web, so you don't have to necessarily install it as a desktop app, whereas for the other two options you have to install it as an app. So those are just like a few tools that you can get your hands on with. Yeah, so
Yeah, right. I totally agree with that. Figma is something that I've been using from first year of my college as well, just trying to learn about prototyping and all. It even has like a list of UI kits from companies like Microsoft and Spotify, and I just looked at it and I was like, how is this free and how is this available for everyone?
yeah.
So that's great. All right. What are some helpful resources that people should look out for if they want to learn about UI and UX design? You can talk about YouTube channels, books, podcasts or courses, or blogs that people should be following, or people that you should definitely follow. What are these things that they can look at?
For sure. So I think a lot of people in the design industry are actually self-taught designers. So a lot of them, they have learned design through YouTube, or through let's say at max through either cohort-based courses, or courses that are like on available online through Coursera or something of that sort. So there's usually no formal education required for you to be a very good UI designer, even though I am like kind of ironic that I am doing a master's in this, but it's not actually required for you to do it. Only if you want to go into research side of things, I think then it's useful to consider a master's. Like if you want to go deep into the research side of things and you want to explore new innovations and stuff. But if you just want to be like a product designer or a product manager, or like these are the different kinds of roles, you can search for them on Google and learn more about them. So product designer is like the main role of most of the startups and companies where you can use your UI design skills and your UX design skills. So that's one thing. So usually YouTube is the best resource. If you want to get started, I think the best starting point would be the Google Coursera UX design course. I think it's a very comprehensive course, but just bear in mind that that course is very, like, I think a lot of things are only polarized from Google's perspective of how Google does UX design. So just be mindful of that and try to learn more about, just try to explore a holistic angle around UX design after doing that course by following some YouTube channels. So I think if you prefer Hindi, I think the best YouTube channel out there would be for Ansh. Like Ansh Mehra has one of the best YouTube videos around UX design and stuff. So you can try to explore that first, and then you can go and learn more about interaction design and motion design on Sapta's channel. I think he makes very amazing videos using Adobe After Effects and stuff. So you can go and learn more on that. And then there's AJ and Smart, which is an amazing YouTuber. I think you can go on their channel and you can learn more about like how to use Figma specifically, and like how to use these design tools. There are other channels as well. If you just Google, or like if you just search on YouTube how to create a portfolio, how to create a case study, you can there are a lot of videos that would come up in the beginning, and whichever feels like this has a very good visual design, or like this seems like a very nice video, so let me just go through it. You can judge a video by its cover in this case, because it's about design, so it has to have a good design thumbnail or something like that. So
Right.
go ahead and go and read those go and watch those videos, not read, watch those videos. And when it comes to like podcasts and stuff, I think there's no specific recommendations from my end, but what I feel is that as a UX designer, you can go and check out How I Built This by Guy Raz. He is an amazing podcaster, and you can just go ahead and learn more about how products are built within organizations, learn about stories, learn about different entrepreneurs and how they got started with their own journeys building products. So you can go ahead and learn more about that. And then there is this one book that everyone recommends you to read in the design industry, that is Design of Everyday Things by Norman. And usually a lot of people haven't actually read the book. Even I haven't read the book entirely, but it's very much recommended. So it's kind of like, priority to mention that book here. If you want, you can check that out. It has a lot of resources. With respect to blogs, Nielsen and Norman, that is the blog, the holy grail for UX designers. You can find literally anything that you want to learn about UX design. You can also follow a lot of daily challenges like UX 100 days of UX, 100 days of UI challenges, daily UI challenges by Adobe. So you can they give you challenges on your mail, and you just have to recreate those challenges within your your Figma or your whatever file, and then just probably you can present it in front of people, get some feedback and all that. We can explore more about that later, but I think these are some of the resources that you can check out to get started with UI UX design. And these are amazing resources, very much used by myself as well. And yeah, I think that's suppose I mean, honestly, there are a lot of other resources as well, but go ahead, check these out. You might find something that might fit your interest. And not a lot of people have the same kind of consumption. Some people might prefer some sort of YouTuber, or some people might just prefer some blogs. You can also read this one very important trick that you can actually follow. A lot of companies have very amazing design systems and amazing design blogs, especially one of them being Spotify. So you can go and check out their blogs as well. You can read how they come up with their design, their design processes, and how they come up with solutions, how they come up with different kinds of things. You can just go ahead and check that out, and I think you'll learn a lot from that itself. So yeah, that's about it from my end.
Awesome. The best part is that all of these resources are completely free, and you just have to spend the time and have some curiosity to dig in and start learning about all of these things.
Definitely.
Yeah. Awesome. So, Vaishnavi, how can someone get opportunities in this field? And what type of opportunities can they actually get? Consulting, freelancing. In your experience, what are the best ways to, make a living as a designer?
Yeah. So what I feel is that as a UX designer, you can either become a freelancer and make a lot of different kinds of projects for different people. But what I feel is that UX and just in general, UI designing is a very iterative process. I mean, obviously as a freelancer, you can you can help a lot of people, you can help a lot of projects and people who are not aware of how to create good visual experiences in their products. So you can do that, but if you go deeper into this field, you'll understand that it's actually an iterative process. You'll have to go ahead and keep revamping your designs, your visual, whatever it is that you've built initially, and you have to keep changing that as the users' needs grow, or just in general as the trends grow. So there are multiple examples of this. If you just imagine this one thing, that if you go back in time, and in 2015 or 2012, let's say, when we used to use Facebook as children, and it was a fascinating little platform that we all wanted to get on as kids. The UI of Facebook at that point compared to the UI of Facebook today is extremely different. So you just have to just look at that. And I think a lot of there are examples from different kinds of platforms in that case. Even if you look at GitHub, which is a platform used by a lot of developers, if you're a student developer, you should know about that. So a lot of different platforms have constantly changed their UI designs as the years went by. If Facebook was using that same UI from 2012 even today, then nobody would be using Facebook today, right? Because I mean, a lot of us are
Definitely.
not used to that kind of UI, but people at that time, they were used to it because they did not have any better products in that, or better visual design at that time. So I think that, it's an iterative process, so you should think about your career in that way, that you would be a very essential tool to any product, because the business success of most startups depend on the way a user experience is packaged for the users in any product. So just make sure that you first of all understand that your role would be extremely important and beneficial for any company or startup, especially in today's world. So that is one thing, and then there are different kinds of roles that you can get into. One is product design, one is product management. Product management won't it's not necessarily something that where you'll have to do design, but it would be like where you'll have to think about the users, and it's a very like different people have different definitions of product management, and different companies have that different descriptions as well. But for me, I think what I consider is that there could be animation or interaction designers who basically design those little small micro interactions. So whenever you plug your phone into the charging, there is this animation like that comes on your screen that your phone is charging, or like that thunderbolt thing. Those things are
Yeah.
also designed by micro interaction designers. So you can do those, like you can get into that kind of field as well. You can get into UX research, where you will have to research into different kinds of new trends and users needs within a certain industry. So in the food industry, maybe these are the trends after COVID, the pandemic hit. What are the different trends? Try to study those trends and give it to the designers so that they can brainstorm solutions on that. So a lot of things, lot of opportunities that are unexplored in this field. So I mean, it is completely worth exploring as a career option. So yeah, that's one thing. And with respect to getting opportunities, you can obviously obviously Ishan's channel. You can just go ahead and watch his videos, and you will know where to get any kind of opportunity. But yeah, there are many platforms but I think one platform that has helped me personally a lot is Twitter. You can either post your content, like post your designs for feedback over there, or just post your work over there, or just in general like build in public. Do a lot of
Shit
things.
post if you don't have anything else to do.
Exactly, shit post if you don't have anything else to do, and just try to gain some eyeballs on your work, so that there are people who know what you are capable of doing. You can also use Instagram, which is a platform that is used by a lot of designers to showcase their work, because I mean Twitter might not be very image compatible at times. So you can use Instagram to showcase your work instead of like building an entire portfolio of sort. So just try to explore these kind of different ways in which you can put your work out there, and I think you'll be good to go for many opportunities.
Awesome, Vaishnavi. Thank you so much for coming in here and sharing your journey and how people can get started in UI UX designing. What's one message that you would have for people at the end that are still watching this video at the 24-minute mark? What would you say to them?
I would say that try to get feedback from on your work, and try to keep updating your work, because the first design that you'll ever make will be very different from like the designs that you'll make 3 months after you've started your journey as a UI UX designer. So what my
Makes sense.
suggestion is that try to keep updating your work, archive your previous designs, don't put them out for people to see, because I feel that a lot of people will judge you on the way you've created your things, and they shouldn't be judging you on the basis of something that you made a year ago, whereas you have been working on your skills for the past 1 or 2 years and you're polishing them constantly. So that is one thing, and the second thing is try to get as much feedback from as many people as possible. You can sign up on this platform called ADP List. It's an amazing platform where you can find a lot of mentors, and I mean, I'm not trying to promote them or anything, they're not paying me anything to do this, but it's just genuinely a very amazing platform where you can just go ahead and find mentors from different companies working as senior product designers in like big companies like Figma, Google, Facebook, and all these Fang and like etc companies. So you can just get their feedback on your work, and that will help you a lot, because even if you can get feedback on one single piece of work, then you can, like, you know where to go from there, and you get a lot of insight into how you want to improve yourself. So just try to do that. And also, second thing, I mean, this is the last thing, okay? I know that I'm rambling for a very long time, but it's just that,
No, no, I think your information is really important for the audience. So please share whatever you think is important.
of course. Just one last thing that I'd like to say here is that I know that getting feedback is very important, but also try to give feedback to other people, even if you seem out of depth on your thing. Because I think I've seen a lot of people on Twitter, when they post their designs, a lot of designers go on and comment, "Oh, amazing, very nice," and all that. That's not gonna help that person. You're gonna have to tell them where, like, okay, just try to start with an appreciation, or wow, this is amazing, like your effort, and then go ahead and tell them that, okay, maybe you can use your colors in this way, maybe you can use a different palette for this use case, maybe you can use different fonts, or like you can try to create a design system to have more consistency and stuff like that. Just try to give as much feedback so that you can also learn from that, learn how to give feedback. Because as a product designer, once you go up the ladder, then you'll have to give feedback to people who are like working as an intern under you, or like just working alongside you, peer review things. Just communicate well in the design terminology in terms. Try to learn that as well alongside your like everything else that you're doing. So yeah, that's kind of the last piece of advice that I want to add in.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Vaishnavi, for coming in here. I wish you all the best for your masters. And yeah, I hope the audience found this video useful.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Ishan, for inviting me.